Hello, and welcome to the Business of Security podcast. My name is Larry Snow, and this is podcast episode number 13. Lucky 13. Thanks for listening. Welcome. And in this podcast, I'm going to be talking about the 10 steps to branding and social media marketing success. When I was creating notes for this podcast and planning out these steps, I got curious as to what others would say, so I asked in a Google Plus community called Social Media Professionals, and I also asked on LinkedIn in a particular post by Joe Palizzi, who was sharing his article on why most branded content is awful, which I agree with, and his article is a great read, and I will put a link to it in the show notes. But I asked these folks what would be the first step to branding and social media marketing success. I received a few responses, and all varied as to what the very first step would be, which I thought would be the case, as each individual is responding based on their own experiences through their brand and niche. And I'll be sharing those responses throughout the podcast as we go through these steps. A couple of the responses did match what I consider your first step to be, and what I will share with you a bit later, but I think before you take your first step, it is best to do a little pre-planning. And the pre-planning I'm talking about here is what I consider your number one brand asset, and that is your website. Your website is your hub for your brand, and all of the social media channels are the spokes, and they all emanate out through the hub, or all of the social media spokes emanate back to the hub, depending on which way you want to look at it. So it should be shareable. Your hub, your website should be shareable, and those things that you do share should return back to your website. So your website must be more than just a brochure on the web. It's no longer 1990 or early 2000. It has to be interactive. It has to have valuable resources, articles, blogs, news items, some type of valuable information. Also offer a hook, something for people to return to, something for people to download, something to learn more about you and what you do and who you do it for. I consider your website to be your rock, your anchor, your number one asset for your business. So if you don't put the time and energy and, yes, money into creating and designing and molding the website into what you are all about and sharing valuable information with the community and marketing it to the right people you're trying to reach, then you won't be found. In addition to having a great website, you have to have a great domain name. You should get a domain name for your business. If you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, maybe you should get one in your name. I suggest you get one in your name regardless of whether or not you're getting to use it. It is your own personal name, and you might as well grab it now if it's available, because the .coms are getting fewer and fewer. There's .co, there's .us, there's .me. I'm actually using a .me because .com wasn't available. And I think it kind of fits. So if you want to be a solopreneur, maybe get a .me. In any case, the domain name should represent what you do, who you do it for. Should be maybe some keywords in there as well. For me, it's Larry Snow. That's my brand. So that's the name of my website. All right. On to the 10 steps to branding and social media marketing success. And as I said, I'll be interjecting other people's responses where I thought they fit in with my 10 steps. Even though they said it was their first step, I might have that further down in my steps. So this is my own opinion. These are my own steps. If you disagree, let's chat about it. You can find me at lawrence.snow@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at LawrenceASnow. And let's just chat about it. I mean, these aren't etched in stone. This is how I see it from my own experience. All right. Step 1. I think you need to identify your brand. You need to identify your personality and values. You need to have that hard look in the mirror and say, what am I doing? What am I all about? well, who am I? What do I want to do in life? What am I passionate about? What makes me me? All of those pieces create your brand. And I had a response from Fred McClimans. I hope I'm not pronouncing your name there, Fred, but he said, be true to who you are. He said the basis of a successful strategy has to reflect the core drivers and values of the business, your value. What are you all about? Step 2, define your audience on social media. Where are they? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Instagram? Find out where they are. Set up some listening posts and figure out where they are. Do some searches on various social networks to find your audience and your customers. See what are they talking about. What are their chief complaints? What are their problems? Because you're all about solving problems. Ask yourself, can you be successful in these networks? Is it worth your time and energy to be interested in it if there's no one around? And also ask, do you think that other people would be interested in what you are sharing? Step 3, set goals and expectations. What are your goals? Are they sales leads, clients, customer service, networking? What do you want to do? What is it that you want out of social media channels? What is your strategy? Joe Pulizzi responded, and this is where I put his answer in my step 3. He said, social media strategy first starts with content strategy. Create a compelling, consistent content initiative that answers people's problems, either real or conceived, and position your organization as the go-to resource. Social, search, and lead generation initiatives start with content strategy first, and I agree with him. You can't have a website without content, shareable content, informative, valuable content. Step 4. Identify which social media channels, based on step 2, which is define your audience on social media. Where are they? So then on step 4, you identify which social media channels you're going to utilize to achieve your goals. Now you may need to be flexible here because there's an ebb and flow to audiences. They might be on Twitter for a couple of years and then they might venture off to Twitter. Or they might use Instagram more than Facebook. Or they might be on Google Plus now. So on step 5 here, establish your brand on social media. I suggest you establish your brand on social media as many places as you can and just set up a listening post. But focus on the specific channels where you found your audience. Put more effort there to get those goals, to achieve your goals. Now, why do you want to establish your brand on social media? Like I said, you want to achieve your goals, but you want to make sure that you're positioned and established in those areas somewhat in case that switch happens, right? In case folks no longer on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're already set up on Twitter. You already are set to go. You already got your listening post set up, and then you can start finding that audience on Twitter. And I'm not going to go into how do you set up Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I think I've discussed that on previous posts on my website, so you feel free to go to larrysnow.me and check those out. But in addition to establishing your brand on social media, I suggest you follow and comment on the top 10 to 20 blogs that are in your niche, that are in your goals and expectations, that are in your things that you want to achieve. If they're in your business realm, if you want to get clients and customers, find those top 10 to 20 blogs and start commenting on them. Start establishing yourself as an authority that you have the knowledge and experience to put in your 2 cents, and people will start to listen. Also include yourself in LinkedIn groups and forums, website forums, if they're still around. I believe they are. They're pretty strong. Wherever your customers are, you need to be there. In addition to setting up all these places, you have to be consistent with your brand. So it has to be the same name the same background, the same description. Obviously, you have more information to share on particular networks than others. With Twitter, it's either 140, 160 characters. On Facebook, you have a pretty lengthy amount. But be consistent with the language. All right, step 6, find like-minded individuals, clients, competitors on social media channels. You do that by doing what you did in step 2. Start searching. Start finding your audience. Use a Twitter search. Use a hashtag search. On Facebook, you have the graph search now, which is huge. On LinkedIn has an advanced search that you can use. On YouTube, it's pretty standard, but find people that are in your niche, find your competitors that are in your niche, and find potential clients that are in your niche by doing all those searches. So you got to find those folks and start following them, start tweeting them, start liking them, start conversing with them, start engaging with them. And here we are at step 7, engage in conversation. You always want to be positive and you want to ask questions like I did with this podcast. I asked a question. I said, what's your first step on branding and social media success? Build trust in your brand. This is what we're doing here. We're becoming an authority. Jim Cole, who responded on LinkedIn, said, be reliable. Reliable advice that delivers long-term benefits to a brand. Share valuable information. Share information. Analysis. Why is it useful? Don't just put something out there that says, hey, come join our forum. Put something out that says, hey, if you want to learn X, Y, and Z, if you're stuck on something, then hey, come check out our forum and maybe we can have the answer for you. Something as simple as that instead of just, hey, we got a forum over here. You can hear the difference, and it's more friendly, but it's also more interesting to people to share what's up front, share what's all about up front, rather than relying on them to figure it out. The big thing for step 7 is to do a Twitter search for a particular subject or hashtag that you have knowledge and experience in, and politely and respectively kind of interject yourself in that conversation. Respond to those particular topics and share your knowledge and your experience. I think a lot of people are just lurking. They're just listening, which is good up to a point, but at some point you need to say, hey, I'm here, and this is what I have to share. Step 8. Manage your brand through social media tools such as Hootsuite and Mention are just two of the ones that I use. And monitor your brand. Monitor your brand. What are people talking about you? It could be good, it could be bad, but you should know. And you can use Google Alerts for that. Mention. You can do a social search occasionally. Maybe tie a social search into If This Then That, which is another great website, ifttt.com. You can share information and set it up to go out automatically with the Buffer app. Also on Hootsuite, you can do that. Hootsuite also gives you statistics. How well are you doing? How many people are clicking on it? How many people are retweeting what you're sharing? How many people are liking what you're sharing? So invest some time and energy reviewing these brand managers. Hootsuite, I think, is probably one of the best. Mention is great for monitoring, and these aren't free. Google Alerts is free. Twitter Search is free. Twitter Trends, there's Google Trends, Google Blogs searches. Those are just search engines out there just sitting, waiting for you to see what people are talking about. So start looking at ways in which you can manage your brand, because it's going to get pretty exciting pretty quickly, and there's going to be a lot of information to keep on top of, and the best way to do that, I think, is with one of these tools. All right, step 9, market your products and services. Notice how I say this is step 9. Some people might put that up at step 7, engage in conversation, but I have that at step 9 because once you start finding like-minded individuals in step 6, engaging in conversation at step 7, you need to manage something. You need to manage all that, and that's why I brought in Hootsuite and Mention and doing some searches and if this then that on step 8. Step 9, once you've established yourself, once you've interjected yourself once or twice or signed up for a Twitter chat or set up your fan page on Facebook, then you can start marketing your products and services. I think of it this way. Imagine walking up to someone at a cocktail party and having that person say, "Hey, how are you? Do you want or need my services or products?" There's no relationship. There's no understanding of who you are. What do you do? There's no trust. There's no authority. And you'll probably get kicked out of the party. So that's why I have start the relationship first in step 7. And this takes time to cultivate. A lot of people don't understand that. People don't know who you are. You're communicating with people all over the world, and you're just going to jump in and say, "Hey, buy my stuff." And people aren't going to know who you are, what do you do it for, and there's not going to be any trust. So you need to have that engagement. You need to have that conversation. You need to have that authority. Share your knowledge, share your experience, and get people to like you and trust you. And then you can say, "Hey, are you interested in using my services?" All right, we're at step 10, final, at least for now in this podcast. Hone your process. Tweak as new social media channels are established. And like I said before, you might need to establish your brand in a place that you've never been before, because these things are popping up like crazy. You might not be in path, but you might find out from doing your searches and doing your monitoring that you might find out that people are using path. And there's a whole bunch of people that might be interested in your marketing, interested in your products and services. So it's a good idea that you go over there and say, "Hello, I'm here." So you might not be there right now, but always monitor so that you're prepared to move over there and be first. So you might not be strong in Google+, but you find out that your audience is over there, your customers are over there in Google+. As I said, I think like I said in step 2, where you're defining your audience on social media, you always have to monitor. You always have to find out where people are hanging their hat. So this process, there's an ebb and flow to this process. So you have to hone that process, make sure that you're able to jump at a moment's notice, so to speak, and get over there, set up your plan, set up your strategy, figure out what you want to do over on that specific channel, and gain that maximum exposure, and gain that authority, and gain those customers. And that's it. That's all I have for 10 steps to branding and social media marketing success. I want to thank the members in the social media professionals community and Google Plus for their responses and insights. And those people are Richard Tatum, Slapshot Studio, Chris Lee Vella, Claire Jacobson, Alex Smale, Nigel Oram. Thank you all very much for your comments. And in LinkedIn, I want to thank personally Joe Polizzi, Jim Cole, and Jim McClimans, who responded to my question on LinkedIn. If you wish to subscribe to this podcast, it is available on iTunes. The link to subscribing is larrysnow.me/iTunes. If you don't have iTunes, that's okay. This podcast is available to you also on Spreaker and Stitcher, as well as BlackBerry Podcasts and Zune for Windows. Everyone's got a Windows phone out there. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.